Greetings, disruptors. We are live today with Tahirah Taalib-Din. Greetings, Tahirah.
Greetings, my sister. How are you?
I am well. How are you? All the way from Senegal today.
Yep, all the way from Senegal,
I love that. I love
by
that.
way of Harlem, New York.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. So I want to ask you, how do you enunciate your name?
It's Tahirah, last name Taalib-Din. I always tell people, like, think of Tahirah. Tahirah, Taalib-Din. And it means, Tahirah means pure and chaste, pure heart. And Taalib-Din means student of life, student of the religion of Islam.
I love that. Student of the religion. Yes. So my question for you, let's just get it popping. How do you show up in the world?
I show up as a mother, a stepmother of three, a wife, a healer, a student, a daughter, a sibling, and a servant of God, someone who is striving to live their best life
Yes.
in this world so that I can have a better life in the hereafter. That's how I show up. Sincere and as genuine as I can be.
I love it. And girl, you're popping with this lime green. It's speaking to me. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about the fact that you created Hearts Connecting after a deeply personal loss. Can you take us back to that moment? What was the spark that led you from grief to building a global healing space for others?
So I met the love of my life back in 2012. And I moved from New York to California because that's where my late spouse lived. And I was living life of my dream. I was living a California dream, an East Coast girl living a California dream with a beautiful, faithful, spiritual, intelligent man. And fast forward back in 2019, my late spouse caught a rare brain infection.
Oh, wow.
It was due to a suppressed immune system after having an organ transplant. And fast forward in 2020, my late spouse passed away.
Oh,
and he passed away at the height of the pandemic.
yes.
And during this time, this is where travel restrictions were in place, stay-at-home orders were in place. And when he passed away, my family and my loved ones could not be by my side while I buried my husband.
Yeah.
So I asked my close friend if she could facilitate his funeral, his janazah. And janazah means a burial proceedings in Islam.
Mm-hmm.
My late husband was a leader in the community, and he was someone who was a pioneer in our Islamic community and even a broader community. So she did that. And as I laid my late spouse to rest, later home that evening, I went home and my heart was just broken.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I realized like what a heartache truly meant. And my best friend sent me the recording of the services and the remarks and the condolences and the prayers of my family and friend and his family and friends. It truly comforted my aching heart.
Yeah.
And 4 months afterwards, while I'm still in the depth of my grief, a sister friend of mine lost her spouse. And I wanted to pay it forward. I wanted her to have that same comfort that I had.
Right.
So I facilitated her husband's funeral. And on that funeral was a funeral director who ended up contracting me to facilitate her virtual services. And when that occurred, I knew like this was the gift from God, and that's where Heart Connecting was formed. So it's a funeral and memorial facilitation service. I facilitate memorials for loved ones who have lost their families and who are unable to attend in person.
That's powerful. I have so many questions. That is really rich. Only 4 months after the death of your husband, you were able to serve someone else and share the blessing that you received in someone facilitating your husband's death. I can identify with that. I was widowed at 23. I had only been
Yeah.
married for 7 months and my
Mm,
husband died. So I can empathize with what you were experiencing, for sure. And then
yeah.
to find your calling in the midst
I
of
know.
it's such a beautiful journey.
It was a beautiful journey, and it's such a sacred journey to be there for families who lose a loved one, and you can provide some form of relief and ease for the families who are navigating the funeral in person, and then
Mhm.
to be that bridge for the loved ones who are unable to attend in person because they experience guilt and so much agony to not be by their loved one's side while they're laying that loved one to rest, or to be there in person to pay their respects.
Yeah.
So to hold a sacred space for people to gather virtually and they feel as though they're there in person. And then we have a sacred space for them to express themselves. Because when you're grieving, in order to heal, you have to be witnessed. So for them to express themselves and to express the love that they have for that loved one, it's a sacred space, and I truly honor the gift that God gave me and appointed me in that position.
I love this. I see how your face lights up to know that you're on a purpose-filled path. This
Yes,
is wonderful. And so you said that how many people are grieving and some even have guilt. Um, and most process it privately, but you chose to make it a mission. What gave you the courage to turn personal loss into public service?
it was what took it to the next level was that I joined a widow person support group virtually in Sacramento.
Hmm.
And although I was extremely grateful for that space because it gave me distinctions to understand, like, I'm not going crazy.
Right.
But what I noticed was that I was the only woman of color in the group. I was the only Muslim woman in the group. And I was the only woman at the time in my 30s in the group. And
Mm,
I realized, like, this is a need for my community. I know that there are other Muslim women and women of faith who have lost their spouses and they do not have a safe space to express themselves,
absolutely.
and in a space where they're not going to be judged for mourning and hurting. And I knew, like, there was a need. And it then became a mission that I know that I have to help other widows move through this space of losing a spouse and be okay to have their heart break and to be okay to cry without being questioned about their faith. And
Shay.
that's where I started a widow support group. This was the first of its kind, a widow support group for Muslim women and women of faith. It definitely has evolved as we speak more into the conversation. But at that time, I was still grieving my spouse.
Yeah.
So this was not only a space for them, it was a space for me. And it was truly through God's guidance and God's grace that this was formed and this was created. And I've helped many of women move from the weight of the grief. And then towards the end of the support group and the workshop, you can see the spark and the
Yeah.
light.
I love this so much for you. So I like to ask this question of my guests because, as you know, I am the disruptor. So
Yes.
what did the disruptor in you have to disrupt?
That's a good question. I had to disrupt a few things. I had to disrupt the fear of not being certified.
Mm,
I had to disrupt the fear of, am I qualified? Will people question my qualifications?
mm,
I had to disrupt, I didn't go to school for this. So who will take me seriously? I didn't get formal education to counsel some people. So what would they think of me? And what would the naysayers say? So I
mm,
had to disrupt that belief to move forward. And don't get me wrong, it still shows up,
Mm-hmm.
but I still have to just move forward, and I have to disrupt that lack of belief and the ability and the path that God has forged for me. So it's still something that is still being disrupted as I move forward, but I have to disrupt that, because if not, I would have never been able to help these women and the women
Absolutely.
who I'm helping now.
Absolutely. And that's the evidence. That's the evidence. You have evidence for the call on your life and that you are needed in this space. And you
Absolutely.
answered the call. I'm so proud of you and excited for you in that.
Yeah.
So many women don't, they squash that voice and that calling down. And for you to
Yeah.
show up so powerfully in this space just makes me so excited for you.
Yeah.
So your journey moved from a grieving widow to now
Mhm.
you're remarried,
I
thriving,
am.
an entrepreneur in a new country. What
Yeah.
internal shifts had to happen for the transformation to unfold?
Yeah. So, it was, I think it was like 4 months, a few months after my late spouse passed away. And I recall being in my living room in Sacramento, and I was just like crying, like, I'm never going to find another man like Antar. He was the best ever. I'm never going to find another man like him. And it was a verse in the Quran that came to mind, and it was something to the effect of, when God, when God removes something, He will replace it with something equal or better or greater. And it was that verse that it was God's promise that shifted my mind, and knowing that this is not the end.
Absolutely.
And I was still longing for my late spouse, but I held on to God's promise that got me, that kind of planted that seed or nurtured that seed that was already in there.
Yeah.
So I opened my heart, like I was like, okay, I do want to remarry. And there was brothers who there was interest along the way, but it just was not for me. And I met my late spouse as I was going through my journey. I started traveling overseas because my life, I never thought I would ever leave the state of California, because that was my dream. Like, it was a
Right.
California dream. And when I closed out my late spouse estate and I began my travels in Africa, North Africa and West Africa, I met my late spouse. I mean, I met my current husband at the airport where he works. My baggage was lost in Morocco, and he helped me to find my baggage. And it was just history. That was history. Now, what's the saying? Then there goes history, I think that is. So that's how
And
it
the
occurred.
rest is history, I
And
believe.
the rest is history. We knew, like, he's very intuitive as I am. And I trust my intuition. And we'll talk about the moments when I didn't trust my intuition. But
Yeah.
ultimately, like, I know that I use the evidence when I met my late spouse, because we both knew we did not question God's guidance as related to us. And the same knowing occurred with my current husband. We didn't question God's guidance when it came to us. And that's what led to me living in Senegal and remarried and a stepmom of 3, and relaunched my business.
I love that. And that is the very difference when you know what you know, what you know.
Mm,
That's in the heart. That's trusting your intuition when you know. Because so many
yeah.
times hear someone say, I think, or thinking you're in your head. But when you know, oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness,
Yes.
that's life changing.
Yes,
What
it is.
what role did faith and surrender play in your healing journey? And how does it show up in your work today with women in transition?
It plays it plays it's a major role, because what I know is that I would have never imagined I would have never imagined losing my spouse. I never would have wanted that for myself. So in knowing that, I know that this is God's guidance, and that God is not done with me, as God is not done with you. And God is not done with those who are viewing this. So when women go through transition, whether it's a divorce, So I work with women who are going through divorce,
Absolutely.
a loss of a child, a loss of a parent, a loss of a spouse, a major move, any kind of transition that disrupts your routine and your norm. It's a sign of God's love. Because what we believe in Islam, we believe that God tests those who he loves. So when you're being tested, this is a sign that God loves you and God wants to bring you closer to him and to perfect your faith. So
Absolutely.
this is vital, because without faith, I don't think I would have survived this major disruption.
Mm-hmm.
And it was faith that kept me hopeful. The hope in one day being reunited with my late spouse in the paradise. The hope that one day I'm striving towards a better life, not only in this life, but in the hereafter. So faith was the bedrock to the transition, not only in my life, but in the life of the women who I work with.
I love this so much for you and for them. How did the concept of dreaming again in your healing journey become such a pillar in your work? And why is it important for women after loss or disruption?
It's such a pillar because when you lose someone, a part of you died, and a part of you is lost. And it's a relearning yourself all over again. It's rebuilding your self-confidence. It's reestablishing your self-esteem. It's giving yourself permission to start anew, giving yourself permission to go in and go into a whole different direction, reinventing yourself, redesigning life. So when the dreaming part is saying, I've experienced heartache, I've experienced loss, I've accepted God's decree, I am moving through, I'm coping with this, I acknowledge my life, I appreciate what I had, I am grateful for my experience, but I'm still here and I still have life. And how can I take what I've gone through and have hope again and dream again? So it's turning that pain into something beautiful, something as a sign of gratitude, as a sign of worship. And it can be something as wonderful as creating a business. It can be something as wonderful as having peace of mind and heart between you and your Lord, or you and the world. So that's where that dreaming again comes from. It comes from you're still here, and you can smile again. You can be happy again, and you don't have to have guilt with it.
Mm-hmm. What do you believe women most need but rarely receive during major life transitions?
A space, a safe space to just be heard. A community of people who will not judge them for however long it takes them to get through that process. Some may be able to move through it in months, and some may take years. They just need a safe space to be witnessed, to be heard, or just to be. That is what it is.
I love that. In your experience, what is the sacred relationship between grief, healing, and purpose?
The sacred relationship is something mystical that happens in the unseen. And I know that there may be ways to describe it, but I haven't yet found it. God, I can describe it as a portal is opened up. And God is just like rushing angels to you to aid you. And there is this deep insight that comes, that's being birthed through you, through that grief. And for me, it happened through grief. It may happen through other ways, but I know through grief, there are so much gifts that are given to you, because God will never take something from you and not give it back. And this is not just in the form of man. This is an insight. This is in wisdom. This is in faith. This is in trust. This is in building yourself. So grief opens up wisdom and a soberness that nothing else can, like through death, that nothing else can open up. And that to me is where a new awakening occurs, a rebirth occurs. And many people find their purpose through severe pain and life transition. So that's a connection.
I love this. I can witness that. I shared, I was widowed at 23.
Yes.
We were trying to get pregnant. And I had shared, you know, I can't do this on my own. Like, I'm not going to be able to do it. Like, I didn't think I would be a good mother. I was something else. And he said to me, I will never leave you. And not long after that, I don't remember the time frame in that between that conversation, but the conversation was, you know, about getting pregnant. And when he died, I was devastated. I had like 4 pregnancy tests, believing we were pregnant and all of the things, and they were all negative.
Yeah.
And then maybe 6, 7 months later, I get pregnant by a boy. You know, just fill in that space, someone I knew, and he was showing up, you know, checking on the widow. We sleep together. First time I get pregnant. What?
Yeah.
Had it not happened, and I was going to get an abortion because I was like, I can't do this. But God had other plans, clearly, because I'm his mama today. I became Richard's mama, and it gave my life so much meaning and purpose. So much.
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of what you are able to have the strength to do to help these women. Because I grieved, and unknowingly, I grieved for decades.
I believe
Showed
that.
up in different ways. I didn't know
I
I was.
believe that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's so. Woo. Let's talk
I
about
believe
the
that.
work.
Yeah.
Hearts Connecting Virtual Memorials was born during a time when gathering physically was just impossible, as we know.
Yeah.
What makes your approach to honoring loved ones unique, and how has it helped families heal in a deeper way?
The approach is just, it's so beautiful. It's creating a space for families to gather from anywhere in the world. When people die, especially when it relates to Islam, like we have to bury our deceased quickly, like within 72 hours. But not only in Islam, like we have people who do not have the resources to purchase that plane ticket, may not have the means to travel from state to state or overseas. So this space allows them to gather from anywhere. After the burial proceeding is completed, they get a chance to reflect on the life of the deceased loved one. And people show up in all sorts of ways. Some are celebrating the life, others have peace, some come with guilt, others are just emotionally just a wreck. And I hold space for them to just show up and express themselves, to be heard and to be validated.
Yeah.
That is the sacredness of this work. And 10 out of 10, this is not from me. This is from the families I serve. 10 out of 10, they are extremely grateful, and they value the work that is done. And they remind me that this work is needed and that is valid.
Absolutely. So you help women not just survive grief, but also build new lives rooted in purpose. Can you share a transformation story that still moves you today?
Absolutely. So there was a woman who, she lost her spouse, let's say, like she came into my work after losing a spouse 19 years ago, if that makes sense. She lost her spouse 19 years ago prior to coming into my workshop, into the grief support work. And she said that this was the first time that she ever had a space to just talk about losing her spouse. That means she suffered in silence for 19 years, that she was afraid of the judgment. And after going through a series of 6 weeks of our workshop, this woman's heart, by the grace of God, was free. And she remarried. That to me was a miracle. And that was one of the best success stories that I had. And this happened at least to 3 other widows that came through my group. 3 other widows remarried after going through the program.
I love that they were able to open their hearts to new love. I love.
Absolutely.
Earlier you used the word begin anew. And
Yes.
I believe that that's a powerful word, because when there's loss, so many women think about like rebuilding or recreating, and it's like, you're different, you're changed. This is new.
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily rebuilding, it's building anew.
It
And I
really
love
is,
that
because you're no longer that person's wife. No matter how you hold on to the title of I'm his wife, the reality is you're widowed. And to change the identity of you being someone's wife to now widow, that is very hard. To filling out documents to where you now filling out widowed, or
Yeah.
they're no longer your emergency contact.
Yeah,
Those are some real hard changes to some real hard truths that you go through when you're moving. And this may not even be someone who's widowed. This can be if you lost a parent and they were your emergency contact, or you lost a child and they were your emergency contact, or you have to do your taxes and you don't put them as a dependent anymore.
absolutely. It sounds like your work weaves together grief recovery, life transitions, and personal discovery, and even
Absolutely.
transformative travel. Why is it important to include all these dimensions when helping women heal?
Because you're healing, there's so many dimensions and so many layers to your healing process. And sometimes you have to remove yourself out of your environment to
Absolutely.
receive another layer of reality, another layer of truth, another layer of what's possible, another layer of hope. When I left out of the country, I went to Morocco to visit my family. Something occurred in Morocco that will remain private, that became my North Star. And the quietness was like, it was a quiet whisper, downsize, downsize. And it was an urgent rush to leave out of America, to go explore life in Morocco. It may not be as extreme for others, but when you remove yourself out of the current environment, you give yourself space to just breathe, and you give yourself opportunity to just see life through different lens. So this is where that connection of transformative travel comes into play.
That is so good. I know just even not going through that, how much of a difference that it makes to just be, like you said, in a different environment. How do
Yes.
your programs, retreats, and coaching help women move from just coping to actually envisioning and creating a new dream for themselves?
It's going back to giving them space to just show up so that they can just let go of the burden that they've been carrying, right?
Yeah.
Because when someone is able to express themselves, they're releasing this burden. And now they're able to think clearer and see things a bit more clearer.
Yeah.
And I'm currently doing coaching right now. I have my free community where I go through different props and exercises with the women. It's a lot of reflective work. It's giving them opportunity to reflect on where they were, to where they are, to where they're going. But through the coaching, it's reminding them, first, it's giving them space to just be. And it's helping them to see what it is that they really want in life.
Yeah.
Reminding them what, like, their position on how God views them, on how God designed them. So it's rooting them back to their position as women through the lens of God, and then building from there. What is your purpose? What is bringing you peace and joy? How do you want to live your life in a space of peace? Because we were created to have peace.
Absolutely.
And then you build from there. So
Absolutely.
that is what differs. It's giving them space to reflect. It's giving them opportunity to create, and it's giving them space to just be and to express themselves. That's what's most important.
I love that. I love that. What makes your approach different from traditional therapy or grief counseling?
I think it comes from, as we mentioned this earlier, it comes from my experience. Like I've experienced loss. I've went through the extreme of my experience. Like I had to bury my late spouse while without my loved ones.
Mm.
I was grieving in my home without anyone but my angels. So this was an extreme that I've gone through. So God put me through this extreme. And
Yeah.
this was, hold on, I lost the question. What's the question again?
I was asking you what was the difference between traditional therapy or grief
Got
counseling?
it. Mine is from experience. I also come from an Islamic perspective. Although the women who are coached, some of them are Muslim, some of them are not. I come from an Islamic perspective. So not only do I use my experience, I use the Islamic perspective, and I also use the traditional clinical work that I've learned that I did self-study with based upon the grief support group that I went through in Sacramento. They also helped me a lot with my curriculum, the grief support group in Sacramento. So I use a blend of that, and I'm also educating myself. Like I'm preparing to start this 12-week trauma and spiritual transformation work that I'm really excited about through an Islamic perspective. And I'm also in a process of getting my certificate in grief coaching. So I do believe in educating myself as I continue to move through this journey. And I'm also studying life and death through the perspective of Islam.
Mm, that sounds rich. I love that. So you're entrenching yourself in the work.
I am. I am,
Absolutely.
because I understand like my experience helps me to reach the women, but I want to go deeper, and I want to be able to go in spaces that my own experience will not allow me to go. So I'm definitely I'm invested in this.
I love that. I love that for you. So what's the biggest misconception people have about grief? And how do you gently help them see it differently?
The biggest misconception is that if they see if people like outsiders,
Yeah.
when they see someone grieving, they automatically assume some that this person doesn't have faith in God, or
Mm,
their faith is weak because they're grieving. And that is a very dangerous and harmful perspective to have, especially when it's being projected on the person who is going through loss.
girl,
You
that's right.
cause more harm when you approach someone with that perspective. That is a huge misconception. And it's better to pray for them in silence and say nothing at all.
Ooh, that's rich. Ooh, that's rich. Yes. Ooh, that is rich. Let's talk about moving from pain to purpose to profit, because
Yeah.
this is also becoming a business for you. What advice
Yeah.
would you give to women who feel guilty even thinking about profiting from their painful experiences?
I would say that you've gone through a test that God has placed on you. And if God is inspiring you to help others, and this can not only benefit their life, it can also benefit yours as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
As long as you are sincere and you are authentic and you are providing value and you're relieving a burden in someone's life, there's nothing wrong with being compensated. Think about the nurse who gone through something when she was a little girl. And she was inspired by the doctor or the nurse who cared for her or her mother or loved one. And
Yeah.
she decided to go into nursing or want to become a doctor. They're being compensated for their work through a traumatic experience that they've gone through. There's no difference than you and I. If you're going through something traumatic and you want to help other people, and especially if you're wealthy and you're well off and you don't need the money, and you just want to volunteer your time to go volunteer your time, that's okay. But if you want to turn this into a business, most entrepreneurs, they start a business based upon personal experiences. Think about, there are brands where people started food brands because a child had an allergy and that became a business. So there's nothing wrong with creating a business and providing a service for a group of people. You have the answer, you can support them. There's nothing wrong with that. You should never feel guilty for it.
Absolutely. I have two things I'll add to that. Your gifts make room for you. And some tend to feel because it comes easy that maybe that it's not meant to be. Like it can't be that. It can't be that simple. But that's why you have that gift to share it with the world. And the other thing that I will say is when you go through things, traumatic, whatever the case, it is not always happening to you. It is happening
Yes,
for you to
absolutely.
help those. That has been my case and my experience because I had no idea that coaching was my calling had I not gone through the traumatic experiences later in my third marriage that I had gone through. I wouldn't be talking to you. Disruptor coaching conversations would not even exist.
Very true.
You
Very
know?
true. Just even with myself, like I was kind of oblivious to like the reality of life. Like I was in my own bubble until my late spouse passed away and my bubble burst. And it was like, wow, this is reality. This is what's real. So absolutely, I totally can relate to what you just said.
Absolutely. As you look at the women you serve, what future are you building with them and for them? I heard you mention community.
Yes. Yeah. So my vision and my goal is to build a future for not only the women who I serve, but even the family who I serve through the virtual services, like a future that can lead them into living a faithful life, bringing them closer to God, building their relationship with God, because that to me is the foundation to this whole transformation. Also, I think about the next life. Like part of what I'm doing is somewhat selfish, and a
Mm,
part of what I'm doing is for the collective. The selfish part is knowing that one day I'm going to leave this earth. And
sure.
like I do believe in the hereafter. I do believe that there is a paradise. And I want to be among those who are righteous. And I know that part of that comes through your not only your intentions, but the deeds that you do. So it's doing as much good deeds that I can possibly do that will benefit me while I'm in the grave and while I'm in the next life. And when it comes to the women, it's like in the community, it's like living a life where you have where you have peace in your heart,
Sure.
and through peace in your heart that comes from allowing your heart to release the burden and live a life of purpose and be intentional and living that life of purpose. And I do believe like that's where the peace comes.
I love that. I love that. We've got a comment. I'll just
Okay.
share. It's from Hamad. I hope I said that correct.
Hey, that's my brother.
Well, he says, I love you, my sister.
Oh, I love you too.
I love that.
You
Thanks for
happy with
showing
it,
up.
huh, man? You happy? Give me thumbs up. That's my brother. He's doing
I
great
love
work.
that. I love that. I love that he showed up for you in this way. So speaking of that, when you envision the legacy of hearts connecting and grow with Tahirah, what impact do you hope to leave behind? I think we kind of answered that.
Yeah, it's just it's impacting the families where they can reflect back and have peace and relief in their heart during a time where their heart is extremely burdened.
Yeah.
And it again, and it's going to sound selfish in some respect, But it's like knowing that one day, my hope is that when I die, these people will say good things about me. Because this is the thing that benefits the believers. When they die, it's like, what is going to be your reputation when you leave this earth?
Absolutely.
And I want my reputation to be a reputation of someone who helped to relieve burdens, someone who helped people during hard times, someone who helped to assist in transforming and changing someone's life. Because if someone's life is changed, they're never the same, and the change is for the better. So that's that circle.
I love that. I love that. What is one truth about healing, loss, or dreaming again that you wish every woman knew?
That it's okay to start again. That life does not have to be hard, dark, hopeless, burdensome. That you really can experience peace, happiness, joy, laughter, and love again. And however that may show up, you can experience that.
Ashe, ashe. Just got a few more questions for you.
Sure.
What is one ritual or practice that keeps you grounded as you help others navigate their healing and transformation?
I think it's like asking God for help and asking God for guidance. Like it's prayer. It's prayer, seeking help and seeking guidance from God so that I could serve sincerely and purely. That's a practice, a ritual that I do hold for is prayer.
And it's so powerful. Prayer changes things.
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. If you could go back and hug your past self during your hardest transition, what would you whisper in her ear?
I would say that it's okay to be yourself, and you don't have to overcompensate because you are afraid of the criticism of the criticizers.
That's good. Oh, that's good. That's rich. That is really rich. I like to ask my guests too, is there a book, a podcast, anything out there that has helped you along the way that you would share with others or recommend?
I think
Could be a movie, it could be
so
anything.
yeah. I know, like, so my late spouse and I, we didn't have children. And there was a point in time where I just felt like, who's going to pray for me when I die?
Mm.
And there is a verse in the Quran, I believe it's Surah Al-Kahf, and it's a verse that says, your children and your wealth are adornments in this life.
Mm.
It's your good deeds, something along like it's your good deeds that will benefit you most. And that gave me comfort. That gave me comfort in knowing that I may not have natural children yet, but it's the good deeds that's going to benefit me more than anything. It's my deeds. So that is something that helped me along the way, and that I remember as I move through this life.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. We'll have that verse for anyone that wants to catch that. We will have it in the description of this
Yes.
conversation. Okay.
Yes.
How and where can folks find you?
Yay, cool. So they can find me here. They can find me in two places. Here on YouTube, I have my YouTube channel, Grow with Tahirah. And I also have a free community for women of faith. It's Grow with Tahirah free community. And I know we'll have that private description as well. And this is where we hold a safe space for women to go through their healing journey, whether you lost a spouse, a child, or your parents is going through dementia. I have women whose parents are going through dementia and they're experiencing the change in their parents. I have women who are in their 60s and 70s and going through the change of aging. And that's a transformation in of itself. So you can find me in my free community.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. What's your personal definition of purpose now? And how has it evolved through your own journey?
My personal definition of purpose, I think, is balance. In the past, it was all about business, and family and faith like came afterwards. Now it's about faith and family, rest and peace, business and purpose. So that is, and what I mean by, yeah, business and purpose, like the desires of wanting to travel and have fun, that is what changed because it wasn't like that in the past.
I love that. I love that. Well, this has just been a delicious conversation to have with you.
Yay.
I'm grateful that you showed up and answered the call. Let's just see if we've gotten any more comments. Hamid says he gave you 4 thumbs up.
Oh, that's my brother. He's so awesome.
I love that. Is he the big brother or the little brother?
He's a big brother. He keeps it real. He keeps it real. He makes sure I'm standing in integrity, not compromising for a like. Like he's a real deal. I appreciate my brother, seriously.
I love that. I appreciate your brother too. I have one final question for you, my dear.
Yes.
Do you have any questions for me?
Wow. What what why are you doing this work? Like, what inspired you to do this work? Because the space that you held today in this conversation, it was, like you said, you kept using the word rich. It's something that really was like heart centered. And this is something that you can't like just pretend and skip through. Like, what's your calling and what led you to create DisruptHer coaching and hold this space for other women to share their journeys, going through the healing process and to help others?
Absolutely. Well, one, during my trauma-filled experience of being married and in a narcissistic relationship after being widowed for more than 25 years, I lost myself. I didn't know who I was. I was numb. I didn't remember my dreams, my desires, any of that. And in going inward to figure out how I had gotten here, how I had gotten there, I I realized there were so many things that showed up that I realized that I needed me. I spent my life showing up for other people, and I needed somebody to show up the way that I would show up. And it led me to my first life coach. Little petite little thing, reminded me of my younger self. And uh, her coaching, I didn't even know life coaching was a thing, first of all. I was like, this is a profession? What? I've been doing this for over 30 years, right? I was like, and it's a profession? People get paid to do it? Like, what? Because I was
Yeah.
going to give her all my money because I knew that she saw me and understood what I needed. I needed somebody to show up as a warrior. I'm a warrior, WARROR. And it just natural. I had this knowing about people. When I go in the bathroom, so many people have shared their business with me that I had never met before. My best friend would always say, how do you go in the bathroom coming out knowing everybody's business? I'm like, all I said was hi. And so as I was on my own healing journey and just leaning in to figure out like what was going on with me, that I had gone through that experience, so many synchronous things happened at the church that I was serving at the time. This little small church where it looked like heaven to me. We had everybody in this church, Mexican, black, white,
Yes,
like
yes,
you name it.
yes,
It was everybody,
yes,
right?
yeah.
And the drummer at the time walked up to me when I told them that I was getting a divorce because I was suffering in silence for a long time. And he put his hand on my shoulder, white guy, Mike the drummer. And he said, this is not happening to you. This is happening for you. And it gave me so much comfort. And I didn't even know why.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, I mean, like broken, like I was being cut with glass, like over my entire body. Like it was crazy.
Mm.
And so as I was going through the life coaching, and it was during the middle of the pandemic, 2020,
Mm.
it was a holistic life coaching program. So we learned about herbs. I had already been on my vegan journey and all of the things. And it sustained us through what we were learning, sustained us through the pandemic. Never got COVID, any of that.
Mm.
And I started realizing she had a coaching certification program, and I'm that chick. I need two for one. Like while I'm here, I
Yes.
may as well get certified because now I realize it's what I would do for free. I was doing it for free for over
Mm.
30 years.
Mm.
And it just felt right. It felt
Yeah.
natural. Now what I thought I was going to do was was restart the business that he and I shared, which is what I realized also is why I married him. I wanted to show up and serve in the capacity of that business on his food and beverage space. And it was calling me. I had been given that vision before we got married, but I thought I needed him to bring the vision.
Right. Right.
And then when I was praying, and I'm like, Lord,
Yeah.
I gave him the business and the divorce and all the things. And I'm like, I still see myself as an entrepreneur. I didn't know that.
Yes. Yes.
I had worked a job that I was really good at.
Right.
And then that came along and it just was driving me. And I stayed in it and I was driving to bring the vision of life. I just started moving in that direction. And
Yeah.
then when I said, Lord, you gave me this vision to help him or something to that effect, Spirit was like,
Mm.
the vision was for you. If it had been for him, I would have given it to him.
Right.
You could have knocked me over with a feather because in that moment I knew that's why I said yes.
Mm.
And it broke me wide open in so many ways because I show up when somebody needs help. And
Mm.
now I've been given a gift and a vision to birth and bring to life. And you telling me it's mine? Oh
Mm.
my God. I didn't know what to
Mm.
do with that. So it took me a
Mm.
long time to like reconcile that and at the same time reconcile how do I show up for the women? Who is the
Mm.
woman? Find my messaging and my calling. And now I know that it's the woman that never lived her own life. She shows up for everybody but herself.
Yeah.
She's the one. I call her Jasmine. Jasmine, I got you, sister. So
Yeah.
that's why I do it, because I know she's
What
out
was what was it like when you realized like that vision was meant for you? Like there was an awakening and a shift and a belief system that shifted in you. Like what was it like in that moment or in that time span when you realized like, holy snap, like I'm shaking and I'm scared, but I can do it. What was that like for you?
it was very spiritual in that it felt sacred. It felt like, oh my goodness. Okay, so I need to really do this right. I really need to sit with this. I had, and it was funny. It wasn't funny. It was there was so many confirming moments that
Yeah,
were starting to show up now that I knew. And they
yeah,
probably were there all along, but I couldn't see them,
right.
right? In my grief and all of the things. And then I wanted another realization came because like I said, I thought I needed him. And
Yes.
what I was learning was I was learning my whys, right?
Mm.
In the coaching program and in the life coaching part of it for me. And one of my whys was that I wanted to leave a legacy for my children's children's children. And what I realized, I could still do that. And I was doing it for my son. I could be in business with my son. And it was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like all of these truths that were right there. And what I
Mm,
realized, I had foggy glasses on. And as I went
mm,
further and further inward, I got clearer and clearer
mm.
and clearer. And I also started to realize that the journey is inward.
Yes,
It's not
yes,
outside of me. The other thing that
yes.
got clearer was, and why Disrupt Her resonated, was that there were some things that needed to be disrupted because I was maintaining the status quo as a
Absolutely.
Christian woman and wife and sister and all
Yeah.
those things. I was starting to feel Christianity be very oppressive, that it was
Mm.
not serving me in the way that I believe, because I never could really identify and see. And there was a lot of religion at play, a lot of demonicness that was at play, and which I don't really share a lot.
Yeah.
But you ask.
Yeah, yeah.
So what happened? So 5 days after he finally left the house, and I knew that that was my sign that this was done, that he was not coming back, and I was filing for divorce. Uh,
Yes.
he sent me this long, long, long message in my text message, and it's like 2 pages. It was crazy, and it just set something off in me, and I just was gonna go off. I was like, oh, he didn't really took my kindness for weakness. He didn't forget who I am.
Right, right, right.
But let me remind him, because now I remember.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
who I am, right?
Yeah.
And it was a lot because at the same time I was feeling a lot of guilt and shame also, because I felt like I had compromised myself so much, and God was showing up so powerfully to show me that he saw me, that I wasn't forgotten, and all of these things were for me. And so I went where he was, which was actually 5 houses down, because it was the house that I owned on the same street that he moved into.
Let me remind you.
Right. And so I go ring the bell, and then I go in because it's my house. And the old school in me, I go stand on the sidewalk because I told him to come outside. And so he's sitting on the bumper of his car. And then he starts to like roll his eyes, and his head's rolling. And then all of a sudden, this warm sensation came over me. And I started to feel like I was going to throw up, because his eyes were like rolling in his head, and then his face turned dark purple. And in that moment, I started realizing, because the whole time we were married, I kept feeling like something was off. I just could not put my finger on it because so many crazy things were happening. And I realized that there was this demonic presence this entire time. And it made me feel like, in the Bible that I grew up on, it said when Jesus come back in the blink of an eye, everything will be known, right? And it made me feel like that type of experience, like it was being revealed. And I just said what I had to say, and I took off running back in my house. I was like
Yeah.
distraught, like could not get a hold of myself. And I do it for that reason too, because so many times women have been oppressed for the sake of male patriarchy. And that's over. That is over. That is over. It is over. I could say so much, but I will
Yeah.
stop there. Maintaining the status quo, is what got us there.
Mm.
It needs to be disrupted. It
Mm.
needs to be called out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, girl.
I get that. I got you. I understand. Is correcting what needs to be corrected
Absolutely.
and redirecting things back on track. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And for her to know her own strength and her own power, to no longer continue to play small, no longer be trying to keep the peace, because whose peace are you keeping?
I
She don't
know.
have peace. You don't have peace, sis.
Right.
No?
Yep. I understand.
Oh my.
I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. But thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for the question.
Absolutely.
Such
Thank
a
you. Because
powerful
we
conversation.
all
Thank you for staying
know
up.
this. I know, right? Because what time is it out here? Because I'm 4 hours ahead of the East Coast. So we're like, what? It's okay. It's
Almost there.
midnight. It's
Yeah.
midnight. But we're
Man,
here.
you know, and we're making good time given all that we've discussed here.
This was amazing.
Yeah.
This was amazing. I really appreciate this opportunity. I appreciate the space and the conversation. I just pray that whomever is watching, additions to my brother, like it benefits them. Like is that it beneficial knowledge that it benefits them and it improves their lives in some way, somehow, and strengthen their faith, relationship with God, and knowing like we're here. I'm here to serve. If you ever need someone to facilitate your virtual service or memorial for a loved one, I'm here. If you need support, I'm here, and we'll share the information description as my dear sister Selina mentioned. So yeah, thank you. Appreciate this.
Absolutely. And thank you, Hamad, for being here. He said, I really enjoyed this. He did
Oh, thank
too.
you, brother.
So much. Now, everyone, if you're just tuning in, this will be available in just a matter of minutes. We're gonna get everything wrapped up and taken care of for you. It'll be available on Tahirah's page as well. So you can
Awesome.
also follow and find her there. And that is at Grow with Tahirah. Uh,
Yes.
I love this so much, sister. Any
You
other?
know what?
Mhm.
No, I just realized I should have changed the name. I have Tahirah J Taalib-Din. I didn't think to put the name of Grove Tahirah. No, I don't have anything else to say. I just want to say thank you. And I really pray that whatever I said that was of good, that it came from God's inspiration and God's guidance. Anything that I said that was incorrect, that came from my own lack of knowledge, and just forgive me for anything that I may have misguided anyone and anything that helped them. Just keep us in your prayers. That's all I want
Absolutely.
to say.
Ashe, Ashe, and amen. Amen. Well, thank you, Disruptors, for tuning in. This is our time today. As I always want you to do, I want you to take good care of you. Until next time.